interested.
There's lots of great things in Spanish culture, like food, music, dancing. But I want to get your opinion on something a bit more controversial. So bullfighting. Do you feel like it's unethical? Do you think it's acceptable? What's your opinion?
I'm personally not a massive fan of it. Obviously, it goes back a long time and it's part of a lot of people's heritage and culture.
Do you have an opinion on bullfighting, or do you have anything you'd like to say about it?
I do know that in Barcelona they don't kill the bulls, and they don't in Portugal either, although Portugal is definitely not Spain.
Yeah.
But obviously in other parts of Spain they do kill other bulls. So I don't know, there's many aspects to bullfighting. There's the killing of the bulls, there's the artistry of the matador, there's the community in it, there's the history of it. So I don't know, it's quite a in-depth cultural point, really.
What is it about it that makes it unethical to you?
I think it's people watching people use animals in that way for public entertainment, as opposed to just letting them live freely.
Sure. So it's the idea of using an animal for pleasure. Yeah. If we think a bit broader and think about other animals in which we use, say like the farmed animals that we consume, do you think there's a parallel there, say if I eat an animal for my taste pleasure?
No, because I think I know lots of people are vegetarian and vegan, I'm not one of them, but
Sure.
I think we need animal for nutrition and things like that, and that's kind of the circle of life. And yes, we can be vegetarian and vegan, but for me, you don't get as many nutrients from those, and that's why it leads to lots of people having iron deficiencies and things like that. So I think eating an animal is kind of what we're here to do, but using an animal for pleasure is something we can choose not to do.
Do you think that harming an animal can be justified at all on culture?
Culture for entertainment?
Yeah.
No, in no way ever should there be anything like that in the world now.
And we use the word entertainment, I guess that boils down to pleasure, right? It's something we get pleasure from. And do you think hurting any being can be justified based on someone getting a pleasure from it?
No. I think it's completely irresponsible, and for anyone to kind of receive any entertainment or pleasure, or as you say, like from harming animals is despicable.
Let's think a little bit broader then, and let's think about, say, the animals we farm and the animals we eat.
Yeah.
There's things like paellas here, fish who are being served. Do you feel there's an issue with that, the idea of killing an animal for food?
Yeah, I mean, I eat meat myself, but the truth is, like, we live in a society and there are certain realities.
Yeah.
Money runs the world and we breathe air and people eat meat. So I think one step out of a time.
Yeah, it's culture has created it. Yeah.
But does that justify it? Because there are parts of the world where women are treated terribly. Saudi Arabia, it's ingrained in the culture. But would you agree with me in saying that's immoral regardless of any culture?
Well, half of Spain thinks it's good, and half of the peninsula thinks it's good, and half thinks it's bad. So it's a debatable subject.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think with any potential injustice, we should probably look at the victim's perspective rather than the people watching on from externally. So, from the bull's perspective, would it be wrong?
Interesting you should say that. Leo Tolstoy, I don't know if you've read War and Peace. He gets into the mind of the dog at one point. I don't think I can get into the mind of a bull.
Do you think you can, if you plan your diet efficiently, can you have all the nutrients you need? Is it possible?
Probably if you went out of your way to, but I just think it's a lot easier and not as artificial getting it from an animal as it would be from taking a vitamin or something like that.
Yeah, I do agree with you in a sense that it's more convenient to consume animal products. The thing is with health, so the American Dietetic Association, they're the largest organisation of nutrition experts in the world. They released a peer-reviewed statement in 2016 saying that a vegan diet is healthy for all stages of the life cycle. So that's infancy, pregnancy, adolescence. You wouldn't have to take my word for that, obviously I'm just a random guy in the streets. If you could be perfectly healthy as a vegan, would it then be as unnecessary as the bullfighting to hurt an animal?
I guess it's a tricky one, isn't it? Probably, but for me, I think yes, you can have a really healthy vegan diet, and there's definitely aspects of my diet that are vegan. It's just not all of it.
Yeah.
But I still think in terms of what's natural, I would still choose the first option.
Because we mentioned before that we can't justify hurting animals based on pleasure. Do you think there's any necessity to consume animals, or is it for pleasure now?
I think we're at a stage where we're so clued up, and science has helped us where we don't really need meat to be able to survive. You know, 100%. That's a really good parallel that you've made between those two, because food, how we consume nowadays, is just pleasure.
Do you think the fact that it's unnecessary makes it unjust?
I think you have to talk to a Spaniard for that. When I've seen bullfighting, it's purely as a tourist, just to tick it off the list.
And did you feel empathy with the bull?
The bull?
Yeah.
I think everyone does. I think even the Spaniards do. It's part of the spectacle that you feel sad for the bull, this magnificent beast, which is then dead.
Mm-hmm.
But now I guess the other side of it is that Matador's throwing his life, in harm's way for your entertainment as well.
I suppose the difference is he's consenting and the bull isn't. Do you think that difference makes it unjust for the bull, but not for the person killing the bull?
Hold on. So your issue is it unjust to kill the bull? Yeah. That's the crucial issue. I'm not giving a view on that.
Do you think that nature is a good measure of morality, though? Because I guess we could look at other things that may be seen as natural but wouldn't necessarily be moral. I mean, from an evolutionary level, I'm not comparing the two, but you could rape could be seen as natural because it spreads the genes through the gene pool.
I guess so, but then you also don't have to do that. That comes down to choice, isn't it? So it's kind of the same as you can choose not to use an animal for pleasure, but if you need to get certain nutrients, you kind of have to do that. So that's kind of my stance.
I get that, but would you agree with me in saying that we could get that nutrition somewhere else?
Potentially, but not in such a natural way.
You mentioned the way in which we treat animals, the intensive factory farming. If we imagine a hypothetical where an animal has an amazing life, all the space in the world, really happy, is there an ethical way to take that animal's life?
I think there's more ethical ways than not.
Yeah.
Killing an animal is still killing an animal. And really, I think it was Dalai Lama said a country should be based on how its people treats its animals. So if you're killing an animal, it's bad. I know that, you know what I mean? I eat meat and I understand the hypocrisy there. But I think there's definitely a better way to kill an animal than others.
I absolutely agree, and I think I could say the same for humans. I could say there's better ways to kill humans and worse ways. There's ways that cause more suffering.
Yeah.
But do you think that there is any justification for killing an animal if we don't need to?
If we don't need to?
Acknowledging that there are better and worse ways, the act of killing itself, can it be morally justified? Big question, I know.
Yeah, that's existential, I guess. I mean, I suppose we don't need to kill animals nowadays. We don't have to eat meat. But we do.
Yeah.
So I guess morally, 100% it's wrong. It's just the way of the world now.
I mean, I'm not giving a viewpoint on Spanish culture either way.
If I was to swap the bull with a dog.
You got one more question. You're not going to get my position out of me. So.
But okay, let's do it completely different then. No bulls, a dog in front of you.
No, because bullfighting is intrinsic to part of Spanish culture. Killing a bull, a dog, is not intrinsic to any culture.
Well, it's part of Asian culture where they eat dogs.
Not for entertainment.
But for pleasure in the same way that we watch bullfighting.
I don't know anything about killing dogs.
In the UK then, it's part of my culture to consume cows, pigs.
Yeah.
If I was going to hurt a cow in front of you, if I was going to kill a cow, would you try and stop me from doing that?
Oh, it depends, because obviously in India with Hindus, they're venerated as a demigod. So it's just like you can't get one global position on it. You have to look at the different. You have to look at the person you're asking a question to. Let
me give you a hypothetical. So I've got an animal in front of you.
Yeah.
I've got a vegan burger on the table.
Yeah.
And it's got the nutrition I need for the day. And I say it's a dog, and I can get the nutrition I want from the dog. And I take a knife out. Are you going to try and stop me from killing the dog?
Yeah, because it's not. Dogs aren't something I know that we eat, and that's why that sits worse than with me than killing something like a chicken that I know is typically what we eat traditionally.
Yes. Do you think there's a moral difference between killing, say, a dog or a pig?
Yeah, I do. I just think that certain animals we eat because they're healthy for us, and that's why naturally we've chosen to eat those certain type of animals.
Do you think a dog could be part of a natural, healthy diet?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know enough about it.
If I was to show you evidence that a dog has great nutrition, would it be ethical for me to stab the dog?
I guess to kill it in a way that you would kill other animals, then I guess, yeah, sure.
What's the motivation for consuming those products?
They taste good.
Yes, absolutely. And I was the same. I was buying it my whole life. But what's more important to you? An animal's life or taste pleasure?
Yeah, I suppose that's a $1 million question, isn't it? And I suppose it's about rewiring the way I think about food, and that takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, and I suppose a lot of like self-discipline, isn't it? It's really up to me to be able to go out there and educate myself on what's happening, what I can do to change. And I think, spiritually I can do that, and it will take a little bit of time. It's just about doing that. I think I'm heading that way naturally anyway.
What's your view on killing bulls?
Yeah, so my view is that it's unnecessary. It causes harm and suffering and death. It's exploitation of the bull. I don't think there's any moral justification we can use to do it. And I could say it's part of their culture. But slavery was part of the culture in the US, and that was still wrong.
Okay. So you need to wear this cap for Lisboa, Portugal, because in Portugal they don't kill bulls.
But they still exploit them. Is there a humane way for me to kill the dog, or is it always wrong?
I really don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about the way that they kill animals now to say.
So generally it's a knife across the throat.
Okay, so, I mean, I wouldn't say it's humane, but I'd say it's necessary for our diet a lot of the time.
Vegans as a population have lower rates of heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes. So if we can be healthier, surely the obligation...
If we can be healthier one way than the other, then sure, but I don't think it's necessarily healthier than a meat diet. I'm just saying there's different health benefits from it.
Yeah. If we could be healthy without hurting animals, would it be a better option for you?
If you could be healthier and it was more natural and eating food naturally was the same way you would get the benefits from meat, then I would definitely consider it. But yeah, right now I don't have enough information to say it's one way or the other.
Okay. So my last question for you would be, if you could live a life where you're harming humans, animals, or neither, which would be more in line with who you are?
Definitely not harming humans. At the moment, harming animals to get food for diet is something I'm doing all the time anyway when I'm eating chicken and beef. So
absolutely, it's in your behaviour, and for my whole life it was in my behaviour. I was doing it every day. But when I started to find out about what's happening in these industries, I didn't agree with it, and I think your morals stay consistent and your behaviour can change to more fit in line with them. So for example, you might not know this, in the egg industry when they're breeding the chickens they only need the hens, the females. So the male chicks are useless, and it doesn't matter if it's free range, organic, this is the breeder. The male chicks are ground up alive, fully conscious in the egg industry, and this happens right now in the UK. Do you disagree with that?
I mean, is that happening everywhere?
Not necessarily the grinding, but all the male chicks are killed. They can be gassed, suffocated in bags. Yes, because 50% of the population they don't need. They need one male to populate. They don't need 50% of them.
Okay,
so they don't make any.
That for myself first.
Absolutely. So if you were to find out,
but I'm sure there are male chickens. Like people keep chickens as pets, don't they? You know, there's not going to be every male.
They keep the hens, the females, because they produce the eggs. So the males don't produce any eggs. They're useless.
But they're still animals. They might still just be running around.
They could, but they're not. Not in farming.
In farming. Oh, sorry, I meant in farming and in other aspects.
Sure.
So just like keeping them as
so
pets.
ideally, I could keep a rooster as a pet, but when I go to buy eggs in the supermarket, whether it's free range or not, they're coming from a practice that kills the males. How do you feel about that process?
I mean, I don't agree with killing the males, but at the same time, the eggs are beneficial for us. It wouldn't stop me eating eggs just because they're killing males.
If I was to kill you, because
that's about humans.
So
I think that's a completely different ballgame.
So what is the difference between me and a pig that justifies that difference in treatment?
You don't eat humans. We haven't found any health benefits of eating humans.
You get good protein from humans.
I mean, I haven't seen anything about that.
You definitely see it as a moral for someone to slit my throat now. And I'm not saying that the pig has to be the same level as me, morally, but I'd like to see if you know the difference between the pig and me, trait difference, that justifies that differential treatment.
It's just
what is it about the pig?
It's an animal.
Your justification is based on group. They're not part of my group.
No, it's not that. It's just about, animals are always things that we've eaten.
Do you think just because something's always happened, does that make it moral to do so now?
Not necessarily. It's just that's what I do.
Yeah.
It's my choice, isn't it? So.
Okay.